is a huge honor today to be interviewing Tom Peck. How are you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing good, Howard, and also happy belated birthday.
Oh, thanks, dude. I turned 53 Saturday and had a rocking hot day. I had all four of my boys and my granddaughter. We all went bowling, and believe it or not, I actually won with a 127. And I don't know if that's because my boys were all drinking beer or if they will let me win, but it was an absolute blast. So you've had a outstanding, interesting career. You've been a townie since 2004 when you were still in school.
Yeah. I think I discovered Dental Town when I was a sophomore going into my junior year. I graduated in 2006.
From University of Tennessee.
Yes.
I love that part of the country. God, that's a beautiful part of the country, part of the world. So what would you tell dental students listening to this on iTunes or YouTube who have never been to Dental Town? Why did you get on Dental Town in school when you're still trying to learn physiology and anatomy and biochemistry?
Well, my whole career has been post-Dental Town, so I have no idea what it would be to practice without Dental Town. I'd probably be terrified because there's so many things I learned from Dental Town that if I started in like 95 or before Dental Town occurred, I don't even know how I would run a practice because they don't teach you how to run a practice or anything. And I'm trying to figure out how I learned about Dental Town. I think I found it through Student Doctor Network. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's still going strong, Student Doctor Network for med students, dent students.
Yeah, so I don't know what I was doing. I think I was looking for like practices or to buy, or maybe I was just looking for a dental job. And somehow from Student Doctor Network, someone talked about Dental Town, and I logged into Dental Town. I've been on it ever since.
And that's what I always think in hope, growth, and abundancy. And I've always thought it's funny how a lot of other websites or dental groups, they think in fear and scarcity, and like dental magazines. I don't know any dentist that just reads one magazine. Sometimes you'll be talking to a dentist, they're like, "Oh, well, I'm aligned with another dental magazine." I'm like, "Well, how are you aligned with a dental magazine? I mean, are you aligned with dentistry and 2 million dentists around the world?" I remember when I was studying to get my MBA, I was reading Forbes and Fortune and Inc. and Success, and I read 5 different business magazines. So I just don't think in fear and scarcity. And then you came out of school and you got a job with Heartland Dental Care, Rick Workman, and that is the largest dental services organization in the world. And I want to ask you this: when I got out of school in '87 versus you 2006, many of my classmates thought, you know what, I'm going to go get some experience. And I'm going to join the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and now a lot of times people say, well, I'm going to get out and work for, quote, corporate dentistry, which big chain dentistry in multiple states, and a lot of people look at that and think that's controversial. I would think working for Heartland under Rick Workman, I would think you'd have to learn a lot about business and organization and management.
Yep.
And I don't see how that could not be a good thing.
It was great. Heartland was they were the only people that would guarantee a salary, and that's all a new grad wants. A new grad needs to get out. We have bills to pay. We don't know how to run a business. And Heartland said, don't worry about that. We'll help you through that. So I moved from Memphis to the middle of Illinois, and they said, well, there's a practice for you. I went, and I went to the practice before I graduated, and it was fine. And you're exactly right. We don't know anything in dental school as far as running a practice. So they know how to run a practice. And I went in there knowing that it may be short term. I don't know if I was going to spend my career with them, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to learn as much as I can. And to be honest with you, I did. Their CE was tremendous. I got to meet Steve Buchanan, the endodontist. They brought like top quality people to Effingham, Illinois, and I couldn't afford to drive out or go out to Santa Barbara and do all this. I had no money. So it was wonderful. I learned how to do so many things, and it was a guaranteed salary. And some people stayed with them, and that's great, but I knew I wanted to run my own ship. And then after about a year or so, we parted ways amicably, and I have no regrets.
And what were your takeaways from Heartland that they didn't teach you in dental school?
Oh, just running a business. A lot of what I see in dental town is a lot of doctors they get out and they're very clinically oriented, which is great, but they shy away from running the from running a business. And the one thing I hate seeing is you see these guys with tremendous talent on dental town, but their practices are just puttering along. They're barely making any money, which you want to make a good income in dentistry because it's hard. You paid a lot of money to get into the field, and just by learning a couple things of business, you could do so much better. And I knew coming out of dental school that that's the training I needed. I knew clinically I'd probably learn clinically how to do things, but how to run a business, well, no one really knows how to do that. So I knew Heartland had a reputation of showing you how to analyze numbers, how to look at a P&L, how to calculate overhead. That's what I needed. So that's why I joined up with them.
Did you, when you left, did you take a lot of their forms and systems and
all of it? I took all of it. I just they had a huge catalog, and I basically I bought into a practice. I met with my partner. I said, I learned a lot of systems, and take a look at these. And he's your age. He's 53, and he goes, yeah, we can implement these. It's not rocket science. They just kind of systemized it, and I'm doing that to this day.
I wonder if Rick, we have a download section on Dental Town, and it's called Downloads. And I have all my forms that I use to run my dental office, and a couple of people. I wonder if Rick would be opposed to uploading all the Heartland forms on there.
I don't see why not. I mean, Heartland gets. I mean, they get a bad rap, and yeah, a lot of people parted ways, and they it just wasn't a good match. But I think if people saw Heartland's like protocols, they would realize that the recommendations and how they run things, it's based on good clinical protocols, good business protocols. It's nothing to be ashamed or scared of, and I think people just don't know.
Well, Rick, look at people get mad when the government steps in. The government always steps in when there's a market failure. And when Rick Workman stepped in, you had older dentists trying to sell these big practices, and there was no buyers, so there was a liquidity problem. He's the only guy who could come to my office today and just write me a check for my office. Nobody coming out of dental school could do that. So he offers.
He's the only guy who can get a job.
He's what?
Coming out of.
I know.
He's the only guy.
And then you got this country where about 60% of the dentists went to 117 towns, and the other 40% went to 19,000 towns. And the most reports are about 10 or 11% of these small towns don't even have a dentist. And like Walmart, he climbed around the back rural areas, putting them in all these towns you never even heard of before. And he is one of the largest suppliers of jobs for recent dental graduates. And then here's these dentists complaining about him. And they their office their office is there 168 hours a week, and they're only open 32 hours a week. And in most of America, you're better off breaking your leg on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday because the hospital emergency room will be open than breaking a tooth, and you're just might as well just dial a prayer to try to get anybody to return a phone call or whatever. And then he comes in there and does business 101, really. I mean, I don't see anything he did that the economist is saying, wow, we never thought of that. I mean, everything he does has been done in all these other industries. And I think what it is dentists don't like competition. I mean, if the dentists had it their way, they'd be the only dentist in America. They'd see one patient a day. They charge $1 million cash for the hour visit in advance. And then they would think in their own walnut brain that it's a perfect world. And the only thing that's perfect in business is to think of what your customers' needs are, to be dentist focused. But hey, you've posted 5,000 times on. I want to thank you for that. Are you just hardwired to share?
I think so. I don't know why. I think I've been sharing ever since I joined, and I don't know. Maybe because I don't have a mute button. I just hit reply and type something. 90% of the time, it's probably not even helpful, but it's just like a reaction. So
Well, I meet every time I go lecture, I say, how many people are in Dental Town? And probably 80% of the hands go up, no matter what country I'm in. And then I say, how many of you have ever posted one time? And like two hands go in. And I always look at and I think what it is I think that social animals are just afraid to be noticed, and they're afraid to ask a silly question, or they're afraid they might be wrong. What advice would you give? So I would assume 95% of the people listening to this have never posted either. What would and you were posting as a kid? You were posting as a dental student, and these guys have been out 10 years. What advice would you give to a listener who's on Dental Town who's afraid to just post? I mean, they should start with just posting the letter 1.
Yeah.
And then post I mean, what advice would you give them?
Just get used to posting. I guess don't worry about saying something to offend someone, or don't worry about just don't have an ego. If you have a question, ask it, because I'll get private messages asking me, and I'll say, well, just start a thread, just thread, and then they'll say, well, I don't. I'll start a thread, and then I'll just say, hey, I'll start a thread with this question, and then you respond to it or see what they say. I think dentists are just really reserved. They're introverts, I guess. So you can't blame them. I mean,
the other thing I don't like it. I can't even count how many private messages and emails and everything I get every single day. It's about 300 a day, and I always think to myself, well, first of all, it's selfish of you to ask me and want me to just answer your question. That's selfish. Number two, it's also wrong, because why would you think I know all the answers? Whereas when you ask this in a community, if you said, what is 2 + 2? And I said 5, well, there's 202,000 other dentists that say, hey, Howard's 53 years old and senile, and it's not 5, it's 4. And then the debate can continue. But the thing that's awesome is everybody learns and grows from your question. So when you ask a private email or a private deal, I mean, it's kind of selfish, because you're going to a community and you want to take individual advice instead of starting a thread and sharing, so that we all learn from your question. And if you had the same question out of 202,000 dentists, how many others have the same question?
It's amazing how many people have the same. They're all asking the same question.
I've never heard a unique one.
No,
even when they end up in jail, it's the same scenarios. I mean, they can't even go to jail uniquely. You know what I mean? When they lose their license, it's not unique. And sometimes people get mad at me when I post about someone going to jail or this, that. But the reason I do it is I'm not trying to out somebody because they went to jail. I think that a lot of people need to be reminded, you can't write prescriptions for your staff and not someday get in trouble. Even when the guy was putting a secret camera in there, when that one guy got busted with a secret camera in his staff's changing room, I bet, out of 202 dentists, if one guy got arrested for it, there had to be, I'm sure, one other person doing it who could read that and say, maybe this is really a dumb idea. Look at this guy's picture posted all over the internet and newspapers. So I think you need to share the good, the bad, the ugly. And my favorite lecturer of all time, and I'm so upset that I can't remember his name on the top of my head, but he was a prosthodontist. And, usually when you go to lecture, everybody shows the best case. They'll do 100 implant cases and 100 cosmetic cases, and they'll just show this one or two cherry pick case to make everybody in the room feel bad. And he would get up there and he'd say, you know what I learned the most from my failures? And he goes, I'm just going to show you every horrendous mistake I've ever made. And then he'd show 30 years of implant failures. And I just thought, man, how much self-esteem do you have to post all your failures and then to share the lesson of what you learned from those failures? I mean, I always say the best foundation is when you hit rock bottom. And sometimes I was talking to an implant instructor the other day, and he says, his best students are the ones that tried implants for 3 or 4 years, had some big failures, finally said, forget it, quit doing them for a year or two, and now they're back. And those are, those are oftentimes his best students. So what advice would you give to the dental students who are listening to you right now? They're 3rd or 4th year dental students. Maybe they just graduated. What advice would you give them?
keep your debt low. Keep your debt low because you guys are coming out with double the debt I had. I graduated in '06 from a state school. I was an in-state resident, and it still cost me about $130,000 to get my degree. Well, if you look
you mean 130,000 in debt?
in debt,
Okay.
yeah.
Plus, okay, because you probably paid another 130.
Yeah. I mean,
So you were in the hole 130. And when you were in dental school, did you buy a car on student loans?
of course not. No.
Yeah. They do it all day long in dental school. You can't find a dental student that doesn't have a $30,000 new Japanese car paid for on student loans. Did you ever take a cruise?
Never.
On student loan debts. Did you visit a foreign country?
Yeah, you know what? We did take a cruise, I think senior year, but I think my wife all through school. So we slept in the down in the engine room. But it still worked. It was, I don't know, it was like a few $100. It was like
I think I saw you and your wife on the movie Titanic.
Yeah, I was holding on to that door. Keep from sinking.
Okay. So keep your debt low. What else advice would you give them?
Well, do what I did. If Heartland's hiring, go work for a year. I mean, they're going to send you to all the CE. I mean, some guys stay with them and they have good careers. But maybe go in there knowing that, hey, I'm going to give this a year. I'm not going to, I'm going to learn as much as I can. Treat it like a real world HR. You're learning the business. You're going to learn how to clinically do stuff because anything that walks in the door, if you feel comfortable doing it, you can do it. So a year working there, I felt confident doing all sorts of things. I was ready. I really was ready to start my own business. But luckily, I came across a practice in an area I wanted to live, and it worked out well. But that's what I would tell a new grad. Another thing I would say is your first 5 years, you don't know what you don't know what you want yet, if that makes sense. So work in a big practice, work in a small practice. It took me at least 5 or 6 years to realize. If you talked to me 5 years ago, I would have said, "Oh, this is what I'm striving for." Totally different today. Totally different. You just don't know what you don't want. So don't. When you come out of dental school, don't have your mind set on a style of practice that you want to aspire to.
And, I think all the greatest minds that ever lived would say that every 5 years of their entire life, they're thinking newer thoughts. A lot of their older thoughts, they no longer believe. I mean, I look at my protocol for everything from a root canal filling to a crown of how to approach my own 4 children to how I approach my granddaughter. I mean, HR. I mean, everything. I mean, I don't think I've ever been at a landmark birthday and looked back 5 or 10 years and thought, wow, I can't believe I used to think that.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's humbling. Yeah, it's always changing.
And that's what I also love about having a monthly column every month since '93. You get to see, wow, I thought that in 1993. Wow, I thought that in 2003. Look at your posts. I mean, you got 5,000 posts. I mean, I'm sure every once in a while you see a thread come back alive and you think, wow, I posted that 5 years ago, and that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's why I always tell people, if you're going to quote me, date me.
Where's the delete button? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've seen some of the craziest quotes where people are quoting me from like 1993, and I'm like, I'm a little bit changed since 1993. Lots of different paradigms. So so you're in Plainfield, Illinois.
Yes.
And is that a suburb of something else, or is that?
Yeah, well, I'm right in the middle of suburbia. It's a suburb of Chicago. I'm about 40 minutes by car to get to the Chicago Loop.
And tell us about your practice and what type of dentistry are you doing, and are you doing and what types of dentistry are you doing that you learned from some of the continuing education courses that you were entitled to at Heartland?
All right. Well, let's see. I got really good at molar endo. So right when I joined the practice, I was doing a lot of molar endo, a lot of extractions. At Heartland, I did a lot of extractions. I did a lot of surgery. But to be honest, once I came to suburban Chicago, And over the years, my practice has really matured to where I'm just doing a lot of restorative, to be honest with you. A lot of crown and bridge and restorative. You know, a lot of people say, well, that sounds boring, but you know what? What I've come to figure out is you can get your thrills out of doing a bunch of different clinical procedures. Like I've placed implants before. I still place them on occasion. I don't do a lot, but I kind of get my thrills on the business aspect now. So I kind of I got a core of procedures I like to do, so I don't get too stressed out chair side, and I kind of get excited when we're trying to figure out how to improve the business, how to improve customer service. That's what I'm excited about right now. Now talk to me in 5 years and I might be telling you, yeah, I want to learn how to do sinus lifts or something crazy, but that's where I'm at right now.
Now, how old are you?
36.
And what do you think makes your dental? I mean, there's a lot of dentists in Chicago. I mean, Illinois has what, 3 dental schools?
It used to. Well, you know,
It used to have 4.
Yeah, now there's
Northwestern closed down.
Yes, North Loyola closed down. So now we have one in the south part of the state, SIU. We have one, University of Chicago in downtown Chicago, and now we have Midwestern University, which is in a suburb. And I think that's related to your neck of the woods, Howard.
Glendale, Arizona. No,
yeah.
no, Midwestern has one in Glendale, Arizona, which is about 30 miles north of me. AT Still is in Mesa, Arizona, and I think their founding school's in southern Missouri.
Oh, okay, so they're different. Okay.
Yeah, so Northwestern closed down, Loyola closed down.
Yeah.
Do you think that Chicago has the right amount of dentists? Do you think it's saturated? Do you think it's undersaturated?
No, it's super saturated. Every major city is saturated. It is, but that doesn't stop you from making a decent living. And then, okay, so we'll go on a different tangent. A lot of times I'll post on the threads of some of the older dentists that are getting upset that they're mad that PPOs are moving in. They're mad that corporate dentistry is moving in. They're just mad that there's so many dentists. Well, okay, you can be mad, but you're not going to be able to control that. You're not going to change it. So what are you going to do? What I've learned is a lot of those outside forces that people are threatened by, you can learn from them. They're not doing anything out of the ordinary. Like from what I learned from Heartland and corporate dentistry, like you said, they're doing a lot. They're willing to do a lot of stuff that are more patient-centered, like I'm open on a Saturday. That doesn't bother me. I've worked it so much that Saturday is a day. It's a work day for me. I work till noon. It's not a big deal to me. But if you tell a guy in his 50s that, hey, have you ever thought about opening a Saturday? They'll be like, oh, absolutely not. Most people will work till Thursday. After Thursday at 5, they're done. They're done until Monday. But okay, Doc, if that's the way you want to do it, if you want to have banker's hours, then you can't really complain if you're getting slow and someone's moving in and willing to work those hours. I mean, it's not as easy as it was in the 80s or the 70s or whenever the heyday was. So I guess what I'm getting back to is even in the crowded areas, if you try to be patient centric, if you try to accommodate them, yeah, the lifestyle of the dentist is going to be a little. You can still be successful. It's still a good profession. So I mean, even in suburban Chicago, where you can't swing a dead cat without hitting the dentist.
Well, I think what's the funniest thing is you ask a dentist, would you consider yourself dentist focused or patient focused? And they go, oh, I'm extremely dentist focused. I mean, patient focused. You know, well, what are your hours? Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5. Okay, when do you take a lunch? 12 to 1. Okay, the Federal Reserve has more economists on the payroll than any institution in the planet, and they say 1/3 of Americans cannot go to the doctor between Monday and Friday, 8 to 5. The only time they can even call your office is their lunch break, and you're closed. What consumer-oriented practices are you excited about? Are you thinking about right now that you think make a difference, that give yourself a unique selling proposition? You know, as Warren Buffett says, a business should have a protective moat around your business, maybe a patent or a brand name that's huge. What are you excited about that differentiate you from an oversaturated market?
That's a good question. I'm still trying to work on a brand. It's always a work in progress, but I'm trying to figure out like what my market is. And right in the middle of suburban Chicago, my market is soccer mom. It's mom. It's mom and the kids. So what I've done is I've tried to build a practice where you can bring in all four kids at the same time. We'll see them all at the same time. Or we'll see two hygienists, we'll have two of them back to back. So that's what I try to cater to, that we're trying to be family oriented. Uh, Another thing is take PPO. I will take your PPO. That's, I mean, around here, you have to if you want to be viable. I mean, there are some people that say after a while you can wean off of them. I don't know if I'll ever wean off of them. You know, I always try to make it. I try to follow your motto. What is your motto? Faster, higher quality, lower in price. I learned that back in 2004 from reading your columns. So I've always tried to keep that at the back of my mind. Yeah, you can keep raising prices, but there's other ways to go about it. So okay, so we talked about cost. We talked about I'm trying to patient convenience. We're open till 7, 2 days of the week. We may be open. We're actually my hygiene department is actually getting it's hard to get in. So we're going to open maybe another evening. People like the evenings. People like the Saturdays. So uh, there's 1,000 things I could do to be more customer oriented, and maybe that's the exciting thing. I'm still learning about it. What else can I offer? We just instituted like Lighthouse. Lighthouse sends a survey that says how was how was your experience? So we get instant feedback, and then I had them add a question that said, "If there's anything you would want Plainfield Dental to do or Dr. Peck to do, what would it be?" I had them include that question because then I know what my pay. Then it's easy. Then you just steer yourself towards that.
Okay, explain Lighthouse again and give some names of other similar products and why you bought that and why did you pay the money for that and what were you expecting it to do?
Okay, so Lighthouse is like it's like the Man Force. It's like a bunch of other different companies. I went with Lighthouse purely from county recommendations. I was using nothing. So after reading all the threads about these automated recall reminders. That's what Lighthouse is. Lighthouse will sends a free text message to all of your patients. They'll even send postcards. And it's all customizable. However, you want to contact the patient. They will contact them 2 weeks from their hygiene appointment, the day of, the day prior. It's all customized. So that's all Lighthouse is. And Lighthouse also does.
And how much
Did you
did you have to pay a big fee up front or just a monthly fee or
It's no, no, it's a monthly fee. It's month to month. There's no contracts,
no
and
contract? Do you know what the monthly fee is?
yeah, it's geez. See, we bought a lot of stuff a la carte. Like they send out postcards, so that's additional. But I think for the standard automated,
Postcards to remind recalls or postcards for new patients to a zip codes?
no, I think they might offer that second thing, but no, just current recall patients. We still send a card, and we have Lighthouse do it. So they send them an appointment card, and they also will send they'll do automated phone calls and they'll do text messaging, which our patients love. I think, oh, geez, I don't want to misquote them. I think it's like $300 something a month.
And that
For
includes the
like
postcard or the postcards
no,
extra?
it doesn't. The I think we might pay a couple $100 a month for all the
And
postcards.
and why do you pay money for paper and snail mail postcard as opposed to email and text? You just find it a higher response rate, or do you or
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that? Have you tried? Did you try it with the printed postcard versus email versus text? I mean, what
How we were so paranoid about this that we hired Lighthouse. We were sending the patient text messages. Lighthouse was sending them a postcard, and my own front desk was sending them a postcard, almost like a backup. So I finally, after 6 months, I said, okay, everyone's getting the message about their recall appointment. We cut out we cut out my front desk sending out postcards, and the reason why I send postcards, I got a lot of older patients. A lot of times they don't have emails, so we still like to send something a paper, something in the snail mail. You know what? Talk to me in a few years. We may have curbed that by then, but we just feel more comfortable. Like recall for my practice is the lifeblood, so we're always sending those patients something.
And I believe in my gut that 50% of emails go into a spam filter, junk box, whatever. I believe that Monday through Friday at 5, when you send your patients a text, I mean, they're like all received, answered, replied, like seriously within 10 minutes.
Yeah. We've noticed that. Yeah, texts are great. A lot of times, my email mailbox, I click to all and I delete it because I just get so frustrated of all the spam email. So you're right. I like the idea of text messaging. That's been really good. Yeah, for suggestion for.
So that's why you don't reply to any of my emails. You hit the select all and deleted them all. Hey, I want to say something about PPOs and dental schools. A lot of dentists complain about how many dentists are coming to dental school, and then a lot of them complain about doing a PPO, and they both fall under price elasticity, and that is price has a very elastic effect on demand. As the price goes up, the demand shrinks. Obviously, you're going to sell a lot less Lamborghinis at $300,000, but as you lower the price to a Cadillac of say $100,000, you'll sell more. If you lower it to a Ford Escort of $15,000, you'll sell a lot. And 70% of cars sold are actually used cars. And dental schools are all reporting the same thing. Every time a dental school raises the price of their tuition $10,000, they have no noticeable difference in the number of applicants for the next year. And so they figured this out about 10 years ago. They go, why are we short on everything? Why are we have all this debt when we say dental school's 50,000 and we get 5,000 applications? Why don't we raise it to 60? They still got 5,000 applications. And now a lot of them are at over 100 and still going higher. Another thing is a third of those dental students, their dad's a rich dentist. And if daddy wants Junior to be a dentist, I mean, he doesn't care if it's $100,000 a year. He just wants him to be a dentist. So, but on PPO, it's the reverse. Every time you lower the price of a procedure, more Americans can afford it. And, Henry Ford said if you make an expensive product for the classes, you'll be poor and you'll eat with the masses. But if you make a product faster, easier, higher quality, lower price, and you aim for the classes, you'll get so rich you'll eat with the masses. And here's the scenario I see of the PPO stuff that I argue with on some of my friends when we're out there biking, swimming, running, whatever. They'll say, well, I have to get $1,250 for a crown, or I can't do it. Yet they'll schedule 90 minutes for a crown with the old technique, impression lab, etc. And then someone else will sign up for a PPO and do the crown for $900, but they can do it in an hour. And it never dawns on a dentist that okay, when you need $1,250, you seated the patient, and then you walk in there and you numbed them up, and then you went back to your office and called your wife for 15 minutes instead of I go in, I'll set a timer for 4 minutes, I'll use Septicaine, and then that 4 minutes you can take an impression for the temporary and take the shade of the crown. The assistant can load up the isolite so that she can still be doing a lot of things. Then 4 minutes ding, you're prepping the crown. And then a lot of dentists say, well, I believe in expanded functions, so I'm going to leave the room and let my assistant, because I'm expanded functions, I delegate. They'll leave the room and they won't come back for 15 minutes because the assistant packed a cord. I mean, you can pack your own cord in 60 seconds and not new gloves, new mask, whatever. But, I mean, I can give you the name of 100 dentists that can knock out a Panky prep crown, impress it, and temporize it in 30 minutes. So it's really so when you don't want to sign up for a PPO, does it ever dawn on anyone that maybe you're slow and lazy? But see, you can't politically correct it. You can't have a bunch of people come to a course say, hey, auditorium full of people, a lot of you are just slow and lazy. And what I'm going to ask you to do, it's like working out with a personal trainer. When I go by myself, I just, I literally start walking on my runs. But when you're a personal trainer, they're just on you the whole time. Come on, pick it up. I want you to give 100% all the way to the stop sign. They're just pushing you. And a dentist owner doesn't have anyone pushing him or her except a little birdie on the shoulder, or maybe this podcast.
Right. You're right.
How many hours a week do you see patients?
Let's see. We open 8 o'clock Monday till 7. Tuesdays, like day, 8 till 5. Wednesday we work 8 till 7 till 5. Friday 8 till 5. Saturday 8 until noon. With changes to come possibly.
And do you have an associate?
No, I have a partner, but depending, associate may be in the works. We're not sure yet.
And tell us about your partnership. How's that going on? I mean, and how long have you been a partner, and what is that like? Because we know that 50% of marriages all failed, and that's when you have sex, children, and spend evenings and weekends together. How is it being married to another dentist?
It can be tough at times, but you know what? The advantages are well worth it. You have someone who's similar to you. As far as like, let's say I wanted to take POs and he didn't. Well, okay, you guys don't have the same philosophy. It's not going to work. Luckily, me and Pete, my partner, are very like-minded. We both grew up just middle class kids in the Midwest. We kind of have the same values. We both work hard. We don't have really expensive tastes. We both go, we go on vacation together. I mean, we are generally friends. Not that you have to be, but it's been working out very well. I knew I wanted ownership of something right out of school. So I worked at Heartland for a year. Then I matriculated into this practice in Plainfield. I only worked about a year before we hammered out details of a partnership. Then I immediately bought half. And it'll be paid for then we'll be full 50-50 partners. And then the strategy is I'm going to find my replacement. So
you bought it. So Pete's an older existing dentist.
Yeah, he's your age.
He's still alive?
Yeah.
My gosh. Does he have like an artificial heart or how is he? But anyway, so he had an older established practice. And why was he looking for an associate partner? Was he ready to slow down, wind down a little bit? Does he work less hours than you, or what was his needs?
Well, he wanted someone. He had a few associates. I need someone that run practice. I don't want to practice alone. I don't want to be the only boss. I want someone else to help with the administrative stuff. Hiring and firing people and things like that. In 2004, the senior doctor, he retired. So it was running a 2-doctor practice all by himself. So then he had a couple associates that didn't really work out. I met with him. We it off. He kind of said, "Hey, but I don't want to be a revolving door associate. I want someone to come in and buy the thing from me eventually." And that's exactly what I wanted.
That is so. I think partnerships and marriages work a lot when you have different interests and skill sets. So it sounds like he wanted to be a clinical dentist, but really didn't want to run the business, and he got in a practice with an older dentist who was kind of running the business. Then that guy retired, and he just kind of got that dumped in his lap. And he thought, I don't want to be that guy. I want an associate that's going to buy in, stay, and help with the hardest part of any business, which is people, HR, attracting and maintaining key quality staff, which will never end for your favorite NFL team, and it will never end for your dental office. And the minute you knock on wood and say, I have the best team ever in the history of my world, the minute you say that, someone's going to move out of state, find a new lover, get divorced, whatever. Your team is always, but just because you won the Super Bowl is no guarantee if you're going to win it next year. In fact, I would love to see a statistic of what the odds are of if you win the Super Bowl, what the odds are of winning it again next year.
Yeah.
I mean, all you got to lose is, a couple turn and a couple players, a wide receiver, a running back, a quarterback, and you have an all-new team.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, that's why in dentistry you always I learned a good term from another townie that he said, this is fitting because it's September. Everyone's complaining about the September slump. Well, he said a while back, he goes, that's why you always have your foot on the gas. even when you're having a really good month, you make that month even better. And then that weathers you through September. So that's kind of like staff. You don't just rest on your laurels. You're always looking at your business. You're always looking about, is everyone doing their job? Don't just let, I guess don't get, don't just assume that everyone's going to keep performing at their best. We always got to motivate each other.
You're in Plainfield, Illinois. Isn't that where McDonald's is headquartered?
Not far, Oak Brook, about 30 minutes from me.
About 30 minutes from me, because Ray Kroc was bought the original 10 McDonald's from the McDonald's brothers, but he was the one who made it what it is today, and that's what he said in his book, Grinding It Out: The Making of McDonald's. One of my biggest takeaways in that book is he couldn't believe how during a recession everybody would slow down their expansion plans, and he's like, "Are you kidding me? Land's cheaper, everything's cheaper. You have a bigger talent pool." He would always hit the gas the hardest in a recession, and he said that he said my best breakouts are in a dip. Warren Buffett, every time the stock market crashes, he says, "Oh my God, the stocks are on sale. Buy, buy, buy." But yeah, you always got. I call that to my team startup mode. I always 28 years running a business, I'm always telling my staff that was there on day one, look how hard we were doing, how much effort we were given in those early years. Why can't we give that much now? Or like Dentaltown. I mean, when we launched that in '98, it was literally around the clock for a year trying to get that thing up and running. And I always say, come on, let's stay in startup mode. Don't be we're not the post office. We're not the IRS. Let's not settle down to that Monday, that 40-hour week cruise control. I love it when I'm seeing a barrage of emails from staff in evenings or weekends or something because they're passionately trying to put out some fire, do something, or launch something new or whatever. I love to see that startup mode.
Yeah, I like that too. Yes.
So what's got you excited now? Going forward.
Well, you know what? For the first time ever, I realized I can't do this all on my own. We're bringing in a consultant, so we're really excited. We're going to see what she has to say. I'm going to have her review all the systems, and we're real excited. It's going to start in, I guess, a week or two, I think, is the first meeting.
And who'd you choose?
It was a recommendation of another townie that's doing very well, and I went out and visited him, and he said, this woman helped me very well. So I got in touch with her. Her name's Teresa Narantic. She works for Clue Dental Marketing.
Yes.
And do you know her?
Yes.
I don't know. Okay, great. She's fabulous. She was really nice, and we're going to get started with her shortly. So I think I'm really excited because then I'm tired of figuring out all the answers on my own.
Spell her name for listeners. Teresa Durante.
Teresa, Theresa, Narantic, N as in Nancy, Arantic.
Narantic.
Yes.
And what's her website? Is it teresanarantic.com?
I honestly don't know. I think if you just type that into Facebook, she'll pop up.
Okay. I want to say something about consultants. I mean, the absolute best offices I've ever seen, and I mean, some of them are just like, I would just have to say are like perfect. Now, I don't want to drop any names because I might embarrass them, and I might get back to like Jerome Smith in Lafayette, Louisiana. That's a joke, but I brought in Sally McKenzie like the day I opened. I mean, I brought in Sandy Pardue. I mean, I've always I've had two consultants in the last 2 years, and the way I look at consultants, if a consultant comes in and you give them $1, and at the end of the year you get your dollar back and a penny or more, how is that not a smart deal? And I've always seen that the do-it-yourselfers who never get it done, they just sit there and waller their whole life. And dentistry is such a small community with Dentaltown, and it's such a small community. When you show me any single consultant, the stayability power they've been doing, you can't be a dentist for 25 years in a small town of 5,000 and not be helping someone. I mean, somebody's coming back to you. And they all have different opinions. They all have different philosophies. I look at them all as a cafeteria, And and the other thing is the staff responds so well to anybody 100 miles away from home. When I tell them something, it's like, well, you're just stinky dumb Howard. But when someone comes in and they're in a suit and tie and they got a presentation, it opens up everybody's mind, and I just love it. And I think all the successful dental offices have had consultants.
Well, Howard, I was going to mention, I think on my little today we're going to talk about maybe about like some like burnout issues with burnout. And I think an important thing is don't try. I thought coming right out of school, I was going to try to do it all myself. And just like you said, the top practices, the guys that on dental town are doing really well, don't think they did it all themselves. They had help. Well, I was so stupid. I didn't realize until about 5-6 years in my career that, oh yeah, they hire outside people to help them get to this level. So don't pull your hair out and stay up at night trying to fix all this yourself. There's people out there to come in and help you.
And talk about burnout. I know you want to talk about that. What are your thoughts on burnout? How big of a problem is this in dentistry, and how do you think you treat it?
Well, I think it's a huge problem because I kind of see it. I see it in my my partner. He worked really hard. He worked really hard in dentistry. He worked a lot of hours. He was kind of scared. If he wasn't there, he wasn't going to be able to see the emergency. So he worked a lot. And I mean, he was, I guess, not to a point of paranoia, but I mean, he was just very, very concerned about the office. The office always came first. And that is right. As a small business owner, that's her baby. That's her lifeblood. But you know what? You don't do yourself any good if you don't take some time off and if you don't recharge the battery. You got to get out of there. So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to come up with systems to where I can take more time off. I'll bring someone else in there that wants to work, that they want to come in and they want to treat patients. I don't need to be there 6 days a week. I don't need, how much money do you need to make? Once you cover your debt and your expenses, if you got a successful business, you can afford to take some time off. You don't have that might just be taking your kids to just stay local, have a staycation, go to the pool. But if you don't put it on the calendar, it's not going to happen. And I think my partner would be just as successful if he took more time off. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is you don't want to hold yourself up to someone else on Dental Town because everyone practices different. Don't look at someone else's practice and think, oh, that's a great match for me. I'm going to strive for that. So that's why I said it takes you 5 years or so to figure out what you like. If you don't like taking out teeth, then don't do it. Just don't do it. You have a good phrase. Don't change. What is it? Don't trade time for money. Or don't trade a procedure for money. The fact that I focus on things I really like doing, and I don't have to walk in and my heart, I got 150 pulse, and I'm like, is this going to work out? I'm not a cowboy anymore. I don't need to do that anymore. But some people like that thrill. Personally, I don't. I may want to do that later, but it's stuff like that. You have to come to work and enjoy what you want to do. Don't drive around the practice a few times and then finally go inside. You should get up and realize I'm going to work, but you know what? I don't mind going to work. This is going to be pretty fun. I like my staff. I like the stuff I do. I'm going to design it to where I don't dread it.
And the look at little kids. They're so happy, and they want to play in a sandbox. And the biggest thing I notice with my 4 little boys is sometimes a dentist friend might have a kid, but the kid didn't play. My kids didn't like that kid, or they didn't play well together. And it doesn't mean that's a bad kid. I mean, to so many people that I've had to let go over the years. I mean, it's not that you're a bad. Just we have this team. We have a psychology, and you may be the best player on the Raiders, but this is the Kansas City Chiefs, and you just don't really fit in. I mean, offices have different cultures, but the other thing, the key I've noticed is that people still don't treat their brain like their bicep. You're a avid biking, runner, bass guitar. People, I see people, they wake up with coffee, and then they, all during the morning, they're eating a donut, and then lunch is Taco Bell, then they come in afternoon, they're snacking on Cheez-Its, and then after work they go to happy hour and guzzle down some kerosene, and then they talk about how they have disease, depression, and burnout, and before they go to bed they take a little pill. And you're just
Yeah.
like, oh my God, maybe if you woke up in the morning and started with an hour of amazing exercise and then an amazing meal, and maybe if you just adopted a lot of healthy lifestyles, your brain would be happy.
You're exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. Try to work out every day if you could.
I got a friend who quit running because he was getting arthritis, and he was and his doctor said, dude, look, you're 6 years old, you're beating up your body, you got to quit running. He quit running for 6 months, and he said he just got, it was stress and it was overwhelming, and he said, forget my skeleton. He goes, I was running for mental health, and I don't even care about my skeleton anymore. And he resumed running, and he said he's much happier and healthier, and he'll have to let the orthopeds figure out what they're going to do with his 212 bones. But he put his brain before his bones and said, I can't quit working out. I work out. The endorphins is what relaxes me and keeps me sane and keeps me happy and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, you're exactly right. That was Jerome, right?
yeah, it was. I wasn't going to say his name. I didn't want to get back. I've already said, well, Jerome, I already said his name first. Jerome, a lot of consultants have been in his office, and that's usually they'll tell you, of all the offices they've ever seen, 60-year-old Jerome, it's just the most perfect on every level from A to Z. I mean, he's just an amazing man, and he's doing it right there in Lafayette, Louisiana, where you put Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, you don't think of the leading edge, high tech dental offices, and that's where it is, Lafayette, Louisiana. That is absolutely. He's just crushing it, and what a great guy. So I only got you for 5 more minutes. What else did you want to talk about for 5 minutes?
Man, good question.
What is biking and swimming and playing the bass guitar for you? We'll start with the bass guitar. Why do they spell it like the bass fish? I've always wondered that about bass guitar. They can't even spell the name of their own instrument. Shouldn't it be BASC guitar? How did they get bass?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. I don't know the history. Maybe we should call the fish basses.
I love bass fishing. So do you think playing music and biking and swimming adds to your overall mental health? So when you go into the dental office, you're better.
Yeah, I have about 3 amps in the office and about 3 or 4 guitars. So if I have like a cancellation or if I've got somewhere where I got some downtime, you'll probably hear some music coming out of the back room. You got to have some other interests. I mean, some people are wired to where dentistry is all they want, which is fine, but I like other interests. So if dentistry beats me up that day, I can go jam on the guitar.
And you jam on the bass guitar?
Oh yeah, slapping the bass, Howard.
Slapping the bass. So who's your favorite bass guitar? Is it Sting?
Yeah, that's from a movie. Some listeners might get it.
What movie was it?
No. So let me see. Let me see if I got your connection here.
Yeah, I'm here. I hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Who was your favorite bass guitar?
Okay. Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh
He's by far my favorite.
I got to see him in row 4. I almost got. I mean, I felt like I could. He has a tattoo on every one of his fingers. I watched it the whole night. I mean, unbelievable.
That is awesome. Yeah, I love him. He's awesome.
I want to sit there and say that one of the best business lessons I ever learned was from that movie, 20 Feet from Stardom. Did you see that movie?
No, what's that about?
Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. Some of the they gave this lady she entered the Music Hall of Fame, and that's what started everybody's curiosity because nobody had heard of her. And so they started looking into it. Well, why did you give it to her? Well, it turns out that one of the secret recipes for the biggest bands in the 70s, whether it was the Rolling Stones, whether it was David Bowie, just the biggest names you can think of, they said they would go in the studio and they would play their songs, and it was nice. But then they would bring in some of these Southern African-American women who grew up singing gospel in churches. Sure. And they would bring in these backup singers, that's 20 Feet from Stardom, and the entire song would just explode. And then they were interviewing these backup singers, and it's just totally our culture. She'd say, well, the most of the backup singers were what we called sheet readers. And they'd go in there and they'd read the sheet. And then most of the artists were low self-esteem and would say, well, you're too loud and kind of, you're back up and blah, blah, blah. But they said the really high self-esteem people like Mick Jagger, that if you just started like overcoming him, he would literally walk back away from the mic looking at her like, man, take it. Like on the movie Gimme Shelter. The song Gimme Shelter, you don't think of Mick Jagger. You think of that black chick just crushing it.
Belting it out. Yeah.
Oh my God. And that's what it is in dentistry. When you have a staff and you don't delegate to your assistant, you don't let your hygienist run free, and you're always micromanaging and stifling and suffocating. Your biggest favorite rock bands were master delegators. And these chicks were the greatest singers from the 70s and 80s, and it's a shame we don't know their name. And 25th Stardom went to these people and interviewed them, and the takeaway lesson was, man, whenever I have hired and try to hire an employee, I got about 50 people working for me right now, I always try to find people that are smarter than me, think creatively, and I always have to remind them all the time. We're always in a meeting, and so many people will say, well, it's your call. You're the owner. No, it's not my call. There's 5 of us here, and the idea you should get 3 out of 5 people. And I have told I think one of my biggest successful secret recipes is attracting and retaining great people and staying out of their way. And I think I have about a 20-year track record of letting them go on 95% of the decisions. And they'll vouch that. Lori and Jan will agree. So many times I say, we're going to buy red and we're going right. They go, no, we're going with blue and we're going left. And I'm like, okay. And I also figure as a leader, well, if I can't sell it to really good, smart people, maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe I need to go back and sell it better, or get better prepared for my presentations, or get more threads or more dentists talking to them or whatever. And you know what? Looking back after 28 years of business, the team has made all the right decisions. I haven't.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know what? And then it's easier for you. Just get out of their way. Let them help make the decisions. I like that.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely insane. I back to burnout. If I just had to say one thing on burnout, when you give people money that you don't want to stand in the same room with, you're going to end up drinking, smoking, eating Vicodin for breakfast. You don't give someone money who makes you miserable. You find people where you say, man, I like giving you money because you just get her done, and I love your energy, and I love your karma, and you're functional. You're not being weird and, blah, blah, blah. And just don't give people money that you don't like. And don't do a dental procedure that you hate. If you hate endo, stop. Stop it. Because if that makes you burn out and quit and retire at 55 instead of rocking it till you're 75, you just lost $5 million because you're trying to make money doing endo.
There you go. That's probably the most important things you talked about. You got to set it up for the long haul.
Success is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And most people, even Warren Buffett will tell you, he's made more money between the ages of 70 and 80 than he did from 20 to 30 or 20 to 40 or 20 to 50. And when you're young, your tires are just spinning and your car's going 8 different directions. Then you finally get that car on the highway and you're going down. And then when you're my age, 50, the car just keeps going faster and faster and faster. Now at 50, I can start to see the potential of how fast this car could be going in 10 years from now or 20. So pace yourself. Hang out with people you like. Do things for fun. Do not do things you hate for money. That's why hookers are usually on substance abuse, because they hate their job. Don't hate your job. Be happy.
Exactly. I agree. 100%.
But, dude, thank you so much for your 5,166 posts. I feel like you're my lost long brother with hair. And, I really do. I feel like we're family just because I've been reading your posts and following you literally a decade.
Yeah. Well, Howard, thanks for creating Dental Time, because it's stressful for me if I didn't have a place to go to get all these questions answered. So
Well, we have to thank Al Gore for that. He's the one who invented the internet while he was a congressman.
Oh, yeah. First Gore, then you. Okay.
All right, buddy. Well, you have a rocking hot day, and I can't wait to see you again. Are you going to the townie meeting?
I'm going to, you know what? I haven't gone yet, but I'm going to commit to go. I'm going. I haven't done it yet, so I got to take that. That's on the bucket list. I have to do that.
Well, you know, you have to do it because you could actually bike Route 66. Doesn't that go? That was Chicago to Hollywood, and that runs right by Las Vegas. So you could actually bicycle from your office all the way to Vegas.
I'll just hang a right. I hate flying anyway, so maybe I'll just hop on the bike and go.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much for doing an interview with me.
Awesome. Sorry for the crappy internet.
Okay. Bye-bye.